Welcome back to another episode of Filmmakers React. I'm Tony Reale.
And I'm Ben Carlson.
And last time we showed you guys a couple commercials that we found as inspiring for some ideas that we were wanting to pitch some of our clients.
Right.
And we're planning on doing some more of that stuff, but I thought it would be kind of fun to go down a trip down memory lane for us. And go back and look at some work that we've done. So This video right here, this is for Patz Corporation. We shot this about 10 years ago now. This is one of the first productions I did on my FS700. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great chance for us to experiment with just telling more of a story about when I pitched this idea to Patz Corporation, it was more about we wanted to focus on the farmer and not just purely on their equipment. And the idea was to let the company kind of sit in the background and let the story be more about that farmer. So,
hey, Tony, if I may, what's Patz Corporation?
Patz Corporation.
What do they do?
That's a great question. They do farm and agricultural equipment. So they do mixers for feeding of livestock. They do barn cleaners. They do all sorts of stuff. So it's a company that's a couple hours north of us. In fact, I used to go to church with the owners of the company. I knew them for years, and so we talk about when you're first getting started in video production. Creative Edge had been around for a couple years, but they were people that I knew very well, and I was like, this would be a great opportunity. They're a bigger company. I know them, so I have a little bit of an in. So it was a great chance for us to experiment and to go reach out to them, and it took a little convincing because this idea I think was not typical. They were, or at least what they were doing in their marketing. A lot of times, businesses are used to, here's our products and services, and I was pitching a very branded piece, and it's something that they still use today. And it took a while. In fact, those of you might remember the God Made a Farmer ads that happened on the Super Bowl. So I had pitched this video a few months before that came out, and then the God Made a Farmer ads came out, and then I got a phone call like the next day. I'm like, I get it, I totally get it. Like, great, no, that's. Yeah. So again, that's what we talked about in the last video, why it's sometimes important to have a style sheet, have an example to show your clients. That ended up being the style sheet, even though I'd already pitched the video, it got them understanding, all right, this is the general idea of what we want for this video. So
sometimes as creatives, it's easy to be like, no, it's just, we're gonna, it's in our head and it's gonna look really cool and we're gonna do this. And for a lot of people, not just farm equipment, but I mean, there's across any industry, sometimes it's hard to get that artistic vision for what you're exactly trying to get. So having examples that you can pull from, which is the whole reason why we're doing this, is kind of breaking down what we're getting inspiration from and what we were inspired to do. I think one thing that I love about this ad, it's really easy to do a features and benefits video. You could do cool equipment shots and be like, oh, look at this big, or whatever it may be. If you want to do shoes or if you're doing products, it's easy to make sexy pictures about the product. But taking a step back and say, no, let's look at who this company is. Not just what they do, but who this company is, and let's tell that story and the impact that it has on their end user, I think it was just a great stylistic, artistic choice.
Cool.
So.
Well, let's see if it still holds up.
Let's see.
All right. So we got a time-lapse sunrise. Aerial, this is also one of our first aerial shots. So when we first started getting into that, Sean used to fly aerial. So taking advantage of slow motion that the FS700 could do.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I want to talk about this shot real quick. Sorry if I'm breaking the mood already, but so this shot right in here, not this one, but this one. So this is an alfalfa field. And I was wanting to do a time lapse of another time lapse of the sunrise, and we got everything set up, and we could not, for some reason, the time lapse was not working, and we just couldn't get it to work. So I had a motion control move, and I was testing out the stuff I was using, Kessler Center Drive motion control system, and I got the whole thing set up and everything, and the time lapse was just not working. I don't remember exactly why, but anyways, so I ended up just hitting record on the camera and kind of reset the move and just it was just a quick reset button. And we ended up using it. It was this kind of gentle jib rise that we ended up using. And so even though the shot didn't work the way I wanted it to, it still worked.
Yeah. Whoa, Bessie.
Sun flare. All right. All right. Hopefully this isn't too disconnecting for everybody that I keep stopping and starting. But so this shot right here, I wish I could go frame by frame on YouTube, but this shot right here, okay, so Ben, where would you say this shot is?
This would, I mean, we're clearly early morning because we just saw the sun rising up over Bessie, and this looks like the stereotypical, or maybe not stereo, but typical farmhouse entryway.
Yep, so that's what we were wanting, and I'm glad that's what you saw, because this wasn't that at all. First of all, we shot this kind of midday because we were getting the exterior shots that were actually needed to be early morning. I have a 1K light, 1K that's kind of set up over here, and obviously throwing light on there. And this was actually in a closet. So there's a wall right here. Like I'm right pressed up against the wall, and I've got my camera set up, and so it's shooting, and this is the longest lens I could do. Maybe it was like 24, 35 millimeter, but it kind of looks like it's a longer shot because it's the compression and everything like that.
Sure.
So we're actually inside a closet, and you can kind of tell by right here. You can see the rack that's right there, and again, right here would be where the edge of the closet door is. So cram the camera in as tight as I can, and I have then that 1K light just to look, because where I wanted was to be like the guy in the storyboard. We had the guy taking his hat and then walking right out the door.
Yeah.
And again, this is Patz Corporation, so there's the subtlety of the logo. We're not pushing it super heavy at this point, but it's still there as you start to see it. So of course the next shot is him walking out the door, but that was our way of faking the rack that was nowhere near the door.
That's great. How did you, if you don't mind, how did you find that shot, and how were you able to think, all right, well, we don't have an entryway?
I was like looking for some sort of a hook on the wall, and we could either have manufactured one, but then I looked and they had this, their longer closet, and I'm just like, I think I can cram a camera in there and that should work, and we tested it out and it worked. So again, it was a little bit of experimentation, but cool. Again, we had it in the storyboard, so I still wanted that shot.
Yeah.
And then again, we could have propped something against the wall. It would have taken a little bit longer to try and manufacture it, and instead we just moved a few things around and it worked just fine.
Nice, cool.
So again, more aerial shots. This is interesting too. We shot this in late fall, or late summer, early fall, and then by the time we got around to doing the aerial, the leaves had already kind of left the trees. So we tried not to emphasize that too much because they technically don't match. You'll notice some shots where there are leaves on the trees. So. Sure. But that's the logistics of doing stuff in the Northwoods here. Sometimes it's very difficult to shoot in the fall because you get like 2 weeks of leaves on trees.
Well, even sometimes one day to the next.
So for this shot right here, I wanted a little atmosphere in there to the sun rays to hit. So literally before we brought in the cow, we just grabbed a handful of the sawdust and threw it up in the air, and just threw it up in the air, and then as it was starting to settle, we were like, action! And then the guy went in there, and it was just, instead of trying to bring out a haze machine or anything like that, it just gave it a little bit of extra stuff for the light rays to hit. I'll mention too that this isn't the actual voiceover of the actor. We found the voiceover artist online. And it was funny because I heard his voice. I'm like, that guy, we wanted kind of the Sam Elliott feel to it, but not too southern of an accent.
Right.
And so we found a guy that we liked, and we asked him, can you do this script read? And he's like, I don't know. He usually does just really basic TV commercials. And so we coached him through it, and he did a really, really good job. We were very happy with it.
Nice.
So this is a shot that I mentioned in my cinematic lighting, how, I liked the silhouette. We were just letting the farmer fall into silhouette. And of course, you want to have the opportunity for there to be enough framing along here so that if he was silhouetted like against this barn, you wouldn't be able to see him.
Yeah.
Or if the camera was lower and the horizon line was like up there, you wouldn't be able to see the farmer. So the camera has to be low enough so that you have plenty of this white negative space that then allow the farmer to silhouette against. And again, there's the logo again. So, just subtly mentioning it, not being too heavy on it.
All right, so can you pause it really quick?
Mm-hmm.
So we are 1 minute, 18 seconds in, and this is the first time that we're seeing the actual product.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. And again, the verbiage is we're talking about all about the farmers, like This is what the farmers do. This is what it's like to be a farmer.
Yeah.
You can see that there's a logo on there, but it's okay. This shot. So this is probably one of the most unsafe shots that I've done. So we wanted this shot, and at the time we didn't have any proper rigging to mount it to the inside. So I have, here we go. I have I'm strapped to the door of, so you can see there's normally a door right here. This is open on this side, and I'm strapped with like ratchet straps wrapped around my body to hold me against there so that I could kind of prop up the camera. And I have the camera on just a tripod, and you know, it's kind of collapsed in, so it was more like a monopod at that time. And then over here, I have a 1x1 LED panel that's hitting and creating that light that you see right there.
Sure.
Because again, this was midday by this time, so all the light was very directional.
Yeah.
So I did want to have still leaning into that golden hour a little bit more. So yeah, he can't see where he's driving. Fortunately, I mean, it's a fairly big area, so it's not like he had anywhere to go, but he can't see where he's driving. I'm strapped in there, and the only way that I can, the straps will stay there is if I put pressure against them.
Sure.
If I leave the pressure off, they will fall off because
gosh.
there was not an easy way to. Anyways, super unsafe. Don't recommend it.
To anyone out there at OSHA, we have stopped doing those unsafe practices, and we have learned better ways to go.
Action. Life is good. There are no guarantees in this business, and I expect a lot from the tools and the people I work
I want to say real quick that shot that this right here. Super happy accident. That was not planned at all. This was the second take. The first take, again, he did it. He walked in, did the normal thing. I'm like, let's just do one more. Did a second take, and then we had that going right by, and I'm like, this is great.
Perfect.
That's the shot.
Perfect.
We got it.
and I gotta work hard, just like I do. The work I do
So now, of course,
helps
we
feed my family.
want to show what is the point of all this work. We're showing all the products that his type of farming creates. Nice shots of the family. You know, for lighting in here, I'll come back a little bit to the wide so you can see. I had an M18 and I had a Source 4 Junior. So that was, the M18 is tucked back here. So this is the M18 head, and that's raking across everybody. And then the Source 4, I think, is probably over here. And that's creating right here this kind of window light. So you get those hard edges. And if you've ever used a Source 4, it's a ellipsoid style light. So you can flag off it, and that's how you get that kind of window light, that hard parallel beams that you get from sunlight. When you typically use like a light with a Fresnel lens or most other lens lights, they scatter the light rays when they hit something too often. So if you want to get like a really hard edge, a Source 4 ellipsoidal is how you can mimic window lights. It's almost always what I use when I need to mimic that look of window light.
Nothing makes me prouder than when my children tell me they want to spend their life doing what mom and dad do.
This is a very, very cold day. So again, I have a 1K light that's off to the side that's just giving them that fake sunlight.
Growing up and seeing dad and
So
grandpa
this is the part where we start mentioning the equipment. Grew up and saw Dad and Grandpa using the same equipment I use today.
would only dream. Grandpa always told me,
Real random shot too. This is Sean working. So this right here, this area of the frame, that was done. We had to replace. They had the logo of the dealership there, and because Patz, has many dealerships, they didn't want to single one out, so they asked that Sean remove it. And so he had to spend several hours in post production just trying to, because you see how much light is changing on that shot. There's lots of reflection and stuff like that happening. So he went in and rotoscoped and clone brushed and everything like that to clean that one little shot up. Took probably the longest of any shots.
Patz helps me get the most out of my farm. I've always been like a partner in my business. I've got a good partner.
Get you in the feels.
Right there in the feels.
So I wanted to let that play out. But so this shot, of course, we had to time because there was an actual milk truck taking a delivery. So we had to time that to make sure that we were there. We had everything set up at the right time. This is sped up a little bit too. You might notice that it seems, a little sped up because that milk truck was going really slowly, which is understandable.
Oh, again, OSHA, much safer.
Yes, exactly. Now, one thing I'll mention too is the lens flare that's right here. The sun was there, that's where it was motivated, but this actual extra lens flare, these elements that are happening right there, was using optical flares and the plugin for After Effects from Video Copilot. And so as we're playing it, we can keyframe it, of course, so then you get that blooming that happens.
Yeah.
It allows for that nice, simple, clean transition. The other thing too about this shot, again, I wanted that beautiful end frame. Of course, it took several takes for him to get it to land exactly on the table, just like that. But the other thing too is whenever you would drop it, the hat caved in.
Sure.
So what we did is we just used a bunch of gaff tape and we just coated the inside of the hat with multiple layers of gaff tape to firm it up, so that when you drop down the table, that it stayed rigid and the logo stayed there.
Because you can use it for anything.
Can.
Anything.
All right. Well, that's the video. Another thing I'll mention too is that when we pitched this to the client, they were very much like, all right, but what about all the years of service and products, the things that a lot of clients want to have in there. So what we pitched is we just simply said, tell you what, we're going to have your brand video, we're going to have a sales video. And we've done this for a lot of clients. And the idea was that this was the touchy-feely, how we want people to feel about your company.
Yeah.
And again, the general idea of this is that we're celebrating the farmer and that Patz is a great partner to the farmer. Right. So that was the whole idea about this. Then we did a separate video that I'm not going to go through with you right now because it's a bit drier and it's got more of you've been this many years in service and it was all the information that they wanted. So they got that instead of trying to cram it all into one video and make it not as good.
Sure.
We gave them two separate videos, and this is the one that I like the most, and the other one's the one that covered all the bases that they want. So a lot of times we'll pitch that to clients. Instead of trying to fight them, we'll kind of say, we'll give you both. And there's an economy of scale because a lot of the B-roll that we shot for this, and even some shots that didn't make it into the edit, we were still able to use in that corporate video.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was a 10-year look back at the video we did. The one thing I'll say is I was a little oversaturated in my yellow tones in my color grades, so maybe next time around I started getting more familiar with. I think I was just starting to use DaVinci Resolve, and so I'm like, ooh, I can bump this up to make it even more morningy now. Sure. After years, I'm like, that was maybe a little bit aggressive. So lessons learned, of course, over the years, but I still love coming back to this one because I love the story that was told. I love just the way we were able to go with it. So
yeah.
So that was this episode of Filmmakers React. Stay tuned. Got lots more to come.
And again, leave us comments down below what you want us to see, what you want us to react to. As we get further along, we love those comments and we'll be able to get more videos coming with what you want to see. Awesome. So thank you so much.